Boy, there's a lot to cover today. Some of it absolutely frightening, some of it a little bit lighthearted, and some of it looks like some good news. But like the news cycle goes every single day, you got to look behind these news stories to get to the truth and find out what's going on through the media BS. And that's why I'm here for you. Thanks for finding Wicked Radio, the live stream, and then the podcast later, wherever you'd like to get them, audio too. I got to tell you, as far as this Hurricane Melissa goes, this is interesting now. This is when you know a powerful hurricane has wiped out all telecom, cell service, anything in an island. There was a whole period of time yesterday when we knew that this storm was hitting Jamaica, the southwest part of Jamaica, then going through and then headed to that eastern tip of Cuba. You know it's bad when there's just a news blackout for most of the day. That's exactly what we had, but it was bad. And I will say this, the entire island of Jamaica is going to need a lot of help. You're going to see a lot of that coming here recently. We'll talk about that as well and get into it. But maybe some good news. Is the Schumer shutdown, as we like to call it, ending soon? It's tough to tell with these things. You're talking about politicians, but possibly. And I'll tell you why, because the Democrats have lost the narrative on this. Even the media is turning against them. That's when you know something's happening. And I promised you a scary story from the headlines because this is spooky week. We're right around the corner from Halloween. I can't think of anything scarier. There's actually, it wound up being okay, but anything scarier than a headline says this: escaped dangerous research lab monkeys on the loose in Mississippi. That actually happened. But anyway, we'll get to that as well. Let's get right to it. It's bad when even, real meteorologists, the real seasoned guys, not the local yokels, the guys that work for the National Hurricane Center, even the ones that work with the Weather Channel, and they chime in with them all the time, when they call the destruction in Jamaica unreal and the power of this storm, they're going to need a lot of help, guys. This was some home video.
People, we don't know what we're going to do, people. See the people gone. Gone, people.
God, you just feel for those people. I mean, you can see, you can hear the damage right there. And it's almost, you read this in a headline, no, being far away from it, and you hear some of these numbers, and you think, that can't be real, right? I mean, that maybe it wasn't going to be as bad as they reported. No, everything they said that this storm was going to be as a Cat 5 hitting Jamaica turned out to be exactly that. And we'll get to the damage here in a second. But Cat 5 hurricane was Melissa as it made impact. By the way, the strongest direct hit on Jamaica in 174 years, right there in the Caribbean. 174 years. At the time of landfall, everything you read turned out to be true. 185 miles per hour. Maximum sustained winds. 185. Oof. Obviously the damage is, obviously the forecasters were talking about this too as well. And when they could finally get some reports out of Jamaica, and to make it even worse, a slow moving storm. So it wasn't like it blew out of there like a buzzsaw and, did its damage and then left. It stayed and then did the damage, continued to do the damage. It poured more and more and more rain, which is what's leading to this now, a secondary concern for that island. Here's the mainstream news report about mudslides.
One of the biggest issues here in Jamaica are landslides. Take a look. A wall of water and debris came rushing down from the Jamaican Blue Mountains and brought with it all of this damage. You can see the water still running on the wall here, destroying this entire area, downing these power lines, destroying this car, and blocking off this community from the rest of Kingston.
Brutal, just absolutely brutal. So where does it leave these people? Obviously, you got to pray for them, and you hope you can do whatever you can for them. But speaking of help, there is going to be a lot of outreach. They're going to need a lot of help. There's going to be a lot of organizations that are looking for your money or volunteer efforts or whatever it is. And just as ordinary citizens here, we've all seen a lot of this. We've all seen a lot of the calls, and unfortunately, and this is the worst thing. This is the worst part of humanity you could ever find. There are scams that happen all the time. So I would just encourage you to really, really do your research. You can find out all about these organizations, whether they're legit or not. Do your research before you give to any organization that's going to help or where your money goes or anything else. That's commonplace, but we tend to forget that in a situation like this when you've got, a million plus people who are going to be needing help. There's going to be a lot of people coming, to stateside too to look for help. So just be careful with it. But if I could encourage you to look into one organization that is most likely, I don't know this for a fact, but most likely going to help Jamaica, Can I encourage you to look into the United Cajun Navy? I think, what is that? Well, you may have seen them. In fact, I think you probably have if you paid attention to any recent storms in the news or flooding in New Orleans. They really helped out. Remember a couple of years ago in Houston, they had a horrible flooding situation. The Cajun Navy, as they started calling themselves, were the guys just in like bass boats, paddle boats, canoes, kayaks, john boats, anything they could possibly do to get in there, completely voluntary, and to help out and get people out of really, really dangerous situations. They've organized a little bit better now, and I would encourage you, I don't do this often, but go on X and follow United Cajun Navy. It's right there. It's at United Cajun Navy. These are these guys, non-governmental, non-profit. All they do is get together, organize, and they go where, and they've gone to a bunch of different states to help out people. Again, I don't know this for a fact. I don't know anybody from the organization. I just know what I followed online. I'd be willing to bet they'd head over to Jamaica to help them, but I don't know that for sure. But that's a great organization. But the takeaway is they're going to need a lot of help in Jamaica, and just really research and really do some heavy thinking on that before you give any money to anybody, because unfortunately in these situations, a lot of scams do pop up. But here's another takeaway too as far as mindset goes. You think you had a bad day, like in business yesterday, or a bad week or whatever. Can you imagine losing your entire structure? Imagine losing your livelihood, your home, like those people are going through right now. It really does put it into perspective. And I had to remind myself of that yesterday. You know, you think you have frustrations here and there with different things. It's not like what they're going through. Massive damage. So pray for them, but help however we can. All right. Speaking of frustrations, I'm directly affected by this too. We got a couple of SBA loans that are being held up by the Schumer shutdown. And yes, I do call it the Schumer shutdown for a very specific reason. That labeling, and it was Trump who came up with this, and he's so good with the wording on this, and he's so good with persuasion. That's what turned the tide against the Democrats on this. Now, what have you noticed all week? It started on the Sunday talk shows like Meet the Depressed and Deface the Nation. It started on the weekend, and you started to notice this. all of the Democrat lackeys, Republicans have them too, but all of the Democrats were out there saying the Republicans, they are starving. They're starving people who need SNAP benefits. Why are the Republicans doing this? Why are they keeping the government shut down? Obviously, the play here was to blame them, shift blame, refocus everything, reframe it to try to blame the Republicans on this, even though they're the ones voting for the shutdown. I mean, that's factual. Even if you're a Democrat, you have to look at this and understand that, yes, the Republicans have the majority in Congress, but they need 60 votes to keep the continuing resolution going to fund the government. And it's the Democrats blocking it. Not all Democrats. Senator John Fetterman from Pennsylvania says, I can't get down with this. I'm not siding with this. I'm not going to vote with my colleagues from my party to take SNAP benefits away from people. So he knew the deal, who's responsible for this, his own party. Boy, is that guy interesting these days. But anyway, it's starting to turn. I don't know for sure, but I will say this. This is the most progress we've made in ending the Schumer shutdown. Why? Why would that be? Because nobody bought the line, the narrative we were just talking about this week. It is falling flat on its face that this is somehow the Republicans' fault, because it's not. They're the ones that wanted to pass a clean bill. That's factual now. Democrats tried to twist this and fool people, and it's not working. One other thing about the SNAP benefits, people who are on them are pissed. We've all seen the videos. We've all seen people, raging against this. They're starting to look into this. The public is not dumb when they actually are enraged enough to look into some information. They realize who's causing this. And now, what has that led to? The media is turning. Their media friends are turning on the Democrats on this. When you lose CNN, there's a little media tip. When you lose CNN, this is like it's basically part of their party. When even they're turning on you, you know that you're losing the narrative. This was a great piece of work by Jake.
Should the Democratic senators from New Mexico, your home state, vote to open the government so that these SNAP funds are not at risk?
Let me be clear. The administration is choosing to starve American children with money that they already have appropriated.
I'm not applauding their
tactics.
By
the White House.
Well,
this is a choice by the White House.
This is also, Congresswoman, this is also a choice by Senate Democrats to not vote to open the government. Yes, it is. I understand why they're doing it. They're doing it because they want Medicaid funds restored. They're doing it because they want Obamacare premiums to be extended past the end of the year. I understand the reasoning.
Sir, let me just be clear. The money for contingency plans is sitting there. That is why the states are suing. The White House is withholding funds.
Wow. Uh-oh. And I give Jake Tapper credit on that. He laid it. That is factual. That's what's happening here. It's them blocking this. But they've tried to spin this line all week long. You lose CNN, I'll say it again, you've lost this narrative. Does it force them to end the Schumer shutdown soon? I don't know. I mean, who the hell knows how desperate they are? But there's also reports of this, unnamed sources, all the political crap out of the swamp. But it's still floating out there that there are a lot of Democrats who are absolutely petrified of this because they're hearing it from their constituents. People pissed off in big blue cities and Democrat areas throughout the country, blaming them directly for this. They know what the deal is. They possibly may be going around Chucky Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries to get this thing done. Will common sense prevail? I don't know. But here's another example of it. Again, when you lose CNN.
Hearing from this union, as you said, Everett Kelly, you called him a good leader. Hearing them effectively side with Republicans and the president, does that have an impact on you?
Of course it does. I felt strongly for this union. Everett's a friend and is doing a good job. But we also feel strongly for these families. And the possibility that other Republican actions are going to be closing hospitals and clinics and nursing homes across this country.
Dick Durbin, how beaten down did he look right there? That guy hasn't gotten any sleep for two weeks because he's getting the calls and he's getting the pressure from his constituents. What he was talking about there, what she was talking about, was the largest federal workers union has now come out blaming the Democrats essentially and siding with the Republicans on this so that their people can start getting paid. But even at the end, he starts it again. Well, what the real concern is the Republicans are going to start shutting down hospitals. And nobody's buying it, guys. And they know that. They feel the pressure. So, I don't know. I'm not in the prediction business. I don't think you are either. But this is the closest we've come to this thing ending because nobody's buying the narrative. I mean, again, you start to lose your friends in the media who even they can't keep up this ruse anymore. Might be over, but who knows? Let's hope so anyway. Let's get this thing done and get the country moving again. All right, since we're right on the cusp of Halloween, I promised you something that would be spooky in the headlines so we could talk about leading into this. But honest to God, I wouldn't be able to make up anything scarier than this. You've probably seen the headline, and there's good news in it, though. There's a clarification for this. It's not as scary as we were originally led to believe, but I'll just give you the headline. You ready? A truck carrying aggressive research monkeys, potentially infected with Hep C, herpes, and COVID. What? Excuse me? Crashed in Mississippi, causing 6 to escape. Sorry? What? Let's go to the report now from the national headlines before they clarify this a little bit. Listen to the geniuses who were responsible for the truck.
Tonight, the alarming scene on Interstate 59 in Mississippi. A truck carrying research monkeys, possibly infected from hepatitis to COVID, crashing on the highway. Here's Mola Lengi.
Tonight, the urgent search for dangerous research monkeys that escaped from the wreckage of a crash on a Mississippi highway.
We got 21 monkeys that was on this. We got 5 of them on the run.
Video showing.
Oh my God. Hold on. We had 25 of them on the run. I don't know what the hell happened. Dangerous research monkeys. You want those guys driving the truck? I mean, can we add a little security here? Because accidents do happen. All right, now it's not as scary as originally reported. There actually is some clarification on this, we think. Let's go to a local yokel news report on this.
From Tulane University in New Orleans, escape in Mississippi after the truck they were in overturned. This happened along I-59, just about 20 miles north of Laurel, Mississippi. The primates, we're told, had hepatitis C, herpes, and COVID, posing potential health risks. However, Tulane says all but one has been destroyed and that they belong to another entity and are not infectious. The university says it's collaborating with local authorities and will.
Oh, good. I mean, okay, great. That's awesome. Great news. I'm glad. I hope that's actually the case. But what changed? So the sheriff comes out. The sheriff from the county where the crash happened, he was the first guy that got to local and national outlets and told them what happened at the scene and what the monkeys were affected with and what they were like in their aggressive nature. By the way, nobody disputed the fact that these are aggressive research monkeys. That was never in dispute. But who got to the sheriff to silence? First of all, who told him that they were ridden with all these diseases? Number one. More important question is, who got to him to tell him to stop saying that? I hope that's the case. I hope he was wrong, but something changed in the middle there. I don't know what, but it sounds like all but one monkey, they have the situation under control in Mississippi. But I have one suggestion. At this point in time in our advancement in human research and trying to prevent diseases like this, can we stop infecting monkeys? Because this isn't the first time we've heard something like this, of an escape. There was a research facility not too long ago, I think it was last year in Tennessee, where a whole bunch of them got out. We're not advanced enough where we don't have to, inject monkeys with this stuff anymore. Because, listen, I saw Outbreak, I saw Planet of the Apes, and I know how this shit starts. Let's calm down on this a little bit, right? I mean, with the DNA research we have now, and maybe some AI simulations, can't we, skip that part of the process? Let's stop injecting monkeys with stuff, please. Or at least, if we're going to do that, and we're going to drive them from Tulane across to another facility, let's have somebody a little bit more on it than the brain trust that crashed the truck in Mississippi. Holy smokes. Oh, my God. All right. It's only Tuesday, but here's the takeaway. First of all, obviously, thoughts and prayers for those people in Jamaica. That's just a brutal storm. Everything you heard, not everything happens with storm predictions is as bad as predicted when it makes landfall. This one was. And when you have weather people who are calling this unreal, yeah, that's a bad situation. But again, the takeaway is they're going to ask for a lot of help. Just be really careful with which organizations are asking for money or research or whatever it was. Remember that United Cajun Navy tag I gave you guys before. They do great work. I don't know anybody from there. I don't even know if they're going to Jamaica to help, but that's one of the organizations you can help. Red Cross always does good stuff, but you can do a lot of research. Don't get caught up in the emotion. You can do research before you give to an organization like that, but pray for them, help them however you can. That'd be great. And stop injecting monkeys with diseases, please. We don't need that. Thanks for finding me. Appreciate you. After the live stream wraps up in just a couple of seconds here, it lives on as a podcast and replay wherever you like to find it. Just search for me, Wicked Bill Adams, and on X and Wicked Radio, YouTube, Facebook, right here on X, and audio podcast, wherever you like to get them as well. Just remember, on Spotify, you have to press follow. Yeah, everybody else is subscribed, but make it a wicked awesome Wednesday. Did I say Tuesday before? It's midweek already. We're almost there. Have a great one. I'll talk to you tomorrow.